Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to highintensitybusiness.com, the podcast where we discuss high-intensity strength training and provide you with tools, tactics, and strategies to grow your strength training business. This is episode 329, and the topic of this episode is how to start a strength training studio part 3. And in this podcast, I'm going to give you an update on our personal training business, Optima Strength, the different obstacles we've faced and overcome, the progress we've made, the different decisions we've made, and much more to hopefully give you a really interesting listen, but also provide you with some information that you might find helpful in your startup or your existing high-intensity training business. So ahead of this podcast, I actually listened to part 2 to just remind myself where we were in our journey back then and kind of have a laugh at listening to my own voice, and also just make sure that I didn't repeat anything in that podcast so as to make this a little bit more interesting for you. And it's quite amusing for me to listen to that podcast because it was before my son was born. It was around October 2019. And so obviously I didn't anticipate any of the COVID stuff happening in 2020 and the impact that would have on business. And I think we were actually anticipating to open Optima Strength early 2020. So that obviously did not work out. And, you know, we've had a very long lockdown period in Ireland. It's been pretty challenging and very challenging for some individuals and some business owners. And so that actually delayed things a lot. We were closed for ages. And so we really just spent our focus and our time on pivoting to virtual and offering virtual personal training, which has been going really well. And I've loved learning about that and delivering workouts virtually and growing that business. But also we've spent the time really just getting things ready, getting the systems ready, doing as much as we can behind the scenes so that now that we are open, things are easier to run. So fast forward to now, we've been open for about 2 months, maybe slightly longer than that. And things are going really well, I'm pleased to say. I'm really enjoying it. Ireland is now mostly vaccinated and mostly reopened. So we are obviously quite behind most countries. And I know, for example, the United States has been open for ages now, although I do appreciate there have been some increased numbers in cases, I understand. And I understand that they might reintroduce some lockdowns or restrictions to businesses. So my sympathies there if you're in the US and you're trying to wrestle with some of those challenges right now. So bringing it back to Optima Strength, I think one of the things that's important to say is that we're looking to really make sure we balance the operation with client acquisition. We found a few ways to go to market that have worked really well for us in terms of acquiring customers. But we just want to make sure that we provide excellent workouts and great customer service, and that the operation can really handle the clients that we're bringing in. And I know that sounds funny because I know many of us are really focused on client acquisition and bringing on lots of customers. But what we intend to do is really build a referral machine. You can only really do that if you have a great operation where customers are getting great service and great workouts. And so we're really just trying to make sure we strike a balance in both of those things as we go forward. So I think that's perhaps quite valuable to say. Maybe that's something that's somewhat neglected, as I know that there's a bias in our industry to acquiring customers. But that's very much our mindset and might be important to mention before we move forward in this podcast. So next thing I want to talk about is equipment, because I know you guys get really excited about equipment, and I'm excited to share with you where we're up to with all of that. So we have 6 Med-X machines. We have a Big 5 Med-X. So we have chest press, seated row, pull down, shoulder press, and leg press. We also have a lumbar extension machine. We also have a hammer strength leg extension, and all of these have been delivered courtesy of Craig Huber over in Montreal. Thank you very much, Craig. Super grateful, loving the machines. We've also recently acquired Power Block dumbbells, and we got the high-end version. I can't remember the exact model, but they're amazing, and they scale from, I think it's something like 2 kilograms to 41 kilograms per hand, and obviously you can double that for conversion in pounds, roughly. So that gives us a lot of scalability. It means we can work with clients at all different levels of strength. And I think the cool thing about Power Block dumbbells is they just look high end. They look like they're congruent with the rest of the brand. If you're trying to create a premium brand and a kind of higher end studio, I think it's important to make sure that all the elements, website, equipment, dress code, everything is somewhat aligned so that you're not really confusing the consumer. And so that was part of the rationale behind buying higher end power block dumbbells. So although they're expensive, I do think they will produce great ROI over time. They also save space. They just have a small stand versus obviously buying a long rack of dumbbells. Now, what we're also doing is we're creating a small area in the studio that's going to have mats, and it's going to have a really nice commercial grade heavy duty bench, which we have. We just need to build, and also the power block dumbbells and a few other pieces. So we've made a deliberate choice to provide an area where people can do body weight and free weight exercises. And the reason for that is because although we have some great machines, we are limited in the machines we have, as we want to have a lot more machines, but acquiring machines in Ireland is quite challenging. And we want to try and acquire as many as we can over the secondary market. And I'm going to go into that in a bit in terms of the different ways we've been able to do that. But we understand that's going to take time. And so, we want to have this free weight area so that we can provide more variety in terms of exercises. And frankly, I actually really enjoy, and clients enjoy, some of the free weight and bodyweight exercises that we mix in with the overall workout. And so we all know that the modality doesn't really matter, whether it's machines, free weights, body weight. It delivers great results. It delivers the same results. And we just know that machines are great because they're very surgical in terms of fatiguing the muscle, and they require very, very low skill, which is great for obviously clients who have challenges with motor control and things like that. And so, yeah, machines are great. Certainly better than, I would say, better in terms of making the workout easier for clients. But there's something to be said for the variety and just excitement through programming workouts with both body weight and free weight exercises as well. And manual resistance, I should say, as well as part of that. But we are looking to acquire more pieces over time. We are looking to have somewhere around the region of 16 to 20 machines in the studio. And the next pieces we're actually looking for are a Medex or Nautilus leg curl, a assisted dip and chin machine, hopefully a multi-exercise Medex, something like that. And in fact, I will just go through our list so you can see the kind of machines we're looking at to round out the studio over time. We're looking at abdominal machine, four-way neck, abduction, adduction, calf raise, lateral raise, torso rotation, potentially anterior tibialis, bicep, tricep, pullover, pec fly, and shrug. So you can notice there we've got a lot of machines on the list, a lot of single joint and multi-joint machines, or mostly single joint there actually. And the reason I think that's important is because even though, it's not clear that they would provide any additional physiological change in terms of having those single joint exercises, I think it just makes the workouts more interesting. So it creates more variety. And also I think there's something to be said, and most of you would have heard Luke and I talk about this on the podcast, Luke Carlson from Discover Strength. And that's just the ability to provide the client with more stimulus, more direct stimulus during exercise, which is ultimately going to produce more soreness and a different sensation in the muscle. So even though that might not produce potentially any greater physiological change, there's something to be said there in terms of the way the client feels psychologically, and that might create more fervor and excitement for the workout, which is going to help with client retention and ultimately in driving referrals as well. So that's some of the logic behind acquiring more variety in terms of pieces and just being able to deliver lots of different exercises, because we know that the HIIT umbrella, the evidence-based strength training umbrella, is very broad, and there's lots of exercises and modalities and protocols that work under that umbrella and that are safe. And we plan to utilize as many of those as it makes sense to. And we want to look at those which we feel stimulate the muscle groups the most efficiently and effectively, whilst also making sure that they are the safest exercises available as well. Now, the next thing I move on to is just, I just want to talk about some of the challenges in acquiring pieces. And I'll start off with something about mindset here. I think I've noticed there's a fair amount of pessimism in our industry. And I just think if you're a pessimist, then I think you're really going to struggle to grow your business. I think maybe entrepreneurship might not be for you. And specifically, I noticed there's pessimism around trying to acquire exercise machines in our space, and in particularly in the high intensity training niche. And I understand that. I understand where that comes from. But if you kind of fail at the first obstacle, if you're not willing to try and get over that first hurdle, I think it's going to be really hard to continue to grow a business. And so when I was talking about buying pieces on the secondary market in one of the Facebook groups, there was quite a lot of pushback, and I'm now very motivated to prove those individuals wrong. And I've already had some success in finding sources, and I'll just reveal some of the ways I think we can. Those of us who are located in Europe can actually go about finding pieces. I know this isn't such a problem in the US, where the suppliers, there's a much more ample supply of used Nautilus and Medex, but just have to be a little bit more creative in Europe. So what we found to work quite well is speaking with other studios in Europe. I mean, there are lots of strength training studios, specifically in the EU. And so if you're in Ireland or in the EU, this is obviously more useful. And we've been looking at those because we want to know, do those studios have any pieces they're looking to let go? And obviously with it being in the EU, it's just easier from a logistics point of view. We have also found studios in the UK who are looking to sell pieces. And obviously there are some complexities around logistics with Brexit, but all of that can be overcome. We are potentially open to importing stuff from the United States, which we've done, US and Canada, which we've obviously done before. And so those are some resources, but then also there's Facebook Marketplace and eBay, which can actually have some really good Medex and Nautilus and similar pieces listed every now and again. So it's worth checking in on those places too. And then obviously if you do want to buy new, and you're in Europe again, then you can contact Eggert, who runs Barwich. And sorry, Eggert, if I'm pronouncing your name or the company name incorrect. He's located in Germany and sells brand new Medex. And I'll link that up in the blog post if you want to contact them about that. And then also you can buy brand new Nautilus in Europe as well. They have a distributor in Ireland, which we've been speaking to in the past. So those are some of the resources we've been using. So we're confident that we'll be able to acquire these pieces, but we are patient and we understand it may take time. Anyway, so the next thing I wanted to focus on is just a bit of strategy, really, to talk to you about some of our decisions around strategy and what we're focused on. We decided that we would focus on a strategic niche. And if you've been following this podcast, you might have heard Luke Carlson and I talk about EOS. And in fact, I've spoken about EOS with a number of guests on the show, and Walter Vendel over at Fit20. And EOS is really a framework for running and growing your business. And it works particularly well in high intensity training. It's been proven across multiple studios, and some of the most successful studios use EOS concepts. And it's really just a framework that integrates all of the best practices on running a successful business, which I just think is fantastic. And one of the aspects of EOS is marketing strategy and strategic niche. And all that is what is the sandbox that you want to play in? Or what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be the best in the world at? And the reason why that's important is because what we've noticed in fitness businesses in Galway, and this is really probably a global phenomenon, is that a lot of them just aren't specialized in anything specific. And so they try and be all things to all people. And so they kind of just blur into one. No one stands out. No one's differentiated. And so, I'm thinking about it now. There's only really one other business that I can think of that is memorable because they're different. Whereas the rest try and do all things. They try and do nutrition. They try and do cardio. They try and do personal training. And so in order to stand out and to really capture the mind space and the consumer and be considered the best in Ireland at something, we decided to focus exclusively on one-on-one tailored strength training. And that is really exciting to me because then every decision we make in the business is really focused around that. And we're not going to be focused on anything else. And I think that's just going to make us so much more effective. So excited to pursue that further. Another way of thinking about this is if you look at a lot of businesses that have grown really quickly over the past, 5, 10, 15 years, a lot of them are very focused. If you look at companies like Victoria's Secret, you don't go into Victoria's Secret and go and buy, a suit for a male, for example. It's just women's fancy lingerie. You don't go to McDonald's and ask for a burrito, And it's the same with personal training studios. You don't necessarily have to, as a personal training business, offer a service where you help people with diet and nutrition. Yes, it's incredibly valuable to people and they should be focusing on that as part of their overall health and wellness plan, but you don't necessarily have to offer that. And so we've made a deliberate choice not to do that. I'm not saying to you listening that that is a very bad business decision. I'm just saying that that is what we have decided to do, as we think we will be better off just focusing on being great at one-on-one tailored strength training and deferring things like nutrition and other protocols out to other businesses. For example, recovery modalities. I know some of you might incorporate recovery modalities in your business. And that's, again, something that we decided that we're not going to do. And there's a business just around the corner from us that we will probably defer that type of interest to. And so in doing so, we'll probably end up creating some kind of strategic partnership where we can refer business back and forth, perhaps. And so that's something that I thought was really important and that I thought I would outline in the podcast here. The next thing I want to talk about is virtual. I think this is a massive opportunity. Obviously, a lot of us pivoted to offering virtual training during COVID because all the studios were shut. And I've been doing virtual for a while now, and it's just been received so well. Clients absolutely love it. All the clients I've worked with do not want to stop. It's been so easy to retain people. It's been so easy to acquire new customers and get referrals through virtual. And I think it's going to be something that we're always going to do as part of our studio offering. It's just fantastically convenient for people. As I said earlier on this podcast, modality doesn't really matter that much when it comes to stimulating best results. And as I said, machines have massive advantages. I love machines, but at the end of the day, if you're just contracting muscle, you just need to find creative ways to contract muscle as hard as you can, as safely as possible. One just thing I will note about virtual, which I think is important, is I do think higher frequency is probably more important here. Twice a week is not essential. Like, you will obviously get results with someone with once a week if they're training hard enough and if you're programming it appropriately. But I think on average, twice a week is going to be more important because it's just simply harder for individuals to train to muscular failure with a bodyweight workout or with a workout at home with basic equipment. It's much easier to get someone to or close to muscular failure on a machine. So I think from a programming perspective, I think you should be pushing higher frequency more on average with the virtuals. And as I mentioned, it's so convenient for people. I think that's why it's grown really well across in our business and also in other strength training studios, because people can do virtual from wherever. They can do it from their office, from their home, from their holiday destination, anywhere. So let's move on to customer acquisition. So excited to share with you just a couple channels that we've been focused on. That's the key word here, focus, on just acquiring customers in the beginning of our business. So the first thing is just utilizing our own networks. The first thing we did is just reached out to all the people we knew, which we felt would be interested in our service, and just invite them in for a free workout and not be too bullish around trying to get the perfect fit for our target market, which may be affluent, busy professionals, but just bringing people in for free workouts so that we could practice, but also so that we could provide a great workout experience that might lead to some word of mouth referral as well. Secondly, we've been using BNI. Now, you've probably heard me talk about BNI a lot on the podcast if you're a regular listener. BNI stands for Business Networking International. It's a global, proven business networking initiative where you meet up with a group of typically busy professionals or other entrepreneurs or businesses every single week. And you figure out ways in which you can actually generate referrals for each other. So you're looking to actually provide business to each other. You might do business directly with people in the room, but the key goal is really to find referrals in your own networks and bring them back into BNI to refer business to other people. The reason why BNI is such a fantastic fit for strength training studios is because, firstly, service-based businesses tend to do much better in BNI because it tends to be easier to find referrals for those businesses anyway. The other thing as well is that BNI is typically populated by busy professionals like executives, accountants, solicitors. These are people who are typically a perfect fit for your strength training studio business. And so what I found being really effective is in the initial stages, actually pitching my services to the group directly and offering free workouts to the group. And the rationale behind that is, firstly, I think it's important that they try out the service before they can refer customers to you because of trust, but also, for their own interest and seeing if it's a great fit for them. So that's one thing that I really recommend when you're starting out with B&I is make sure that you're actually pitching your service at a group to start with, and then further down the line, you can begin to educate them on actually how to find business for you. So I think B&I can work really well. I know that there's people listening to this who are highly skeptical. Maybe you've tried B&I before and it's not worked for you. I would just say this. I think for the majority of us, the reason why it hasn't worked is because we're not trying hard enough, right? I think it's down to that. I mean, I speak to so many people who are in B&I in different industries, and the reason they don't get a return investment is because they don't actually work at it. They don't actually put the time in to drive referrals for other B&I members. And you have to put effort in. For us, that's all we're focused on. From a marketing point of view, we're not shiny objects. We're not focused on lots of different marketing channels. We are literally laser focused on B&I. So I actually block out time on a Tuesday morning to figure out, how am I going to add value to the chapter? How am I going to drive referrals? And I know for a fact that if I can continue to produce for my group of members, that I will get referrals. And so far, we've acquired 3 clients for our business from inside the chapter. And I've only been part of the B&I group for less than a month, which is extraordinary return. That's very good for those that are wondering. And so I think it's important, again, to just be focused on these channels that are proven to work. And so if you've tried it before and are thinking about trying it again, I'd encourage you to do so, but I'd encourage you to be focused. Stop doing lots of marketing activities half-assed and not getting results, and instead focus your efforts on the activities that are going to produce the highest return. And I'm confident that B&I will probably do that for you. And just a little bit more social proof on this. Most of you will probably be familiar with Live Oak Strength and Owen Dockham, who is the founder there, or co-founder. And Owen attributes something like 50 to 70%, I can't remember the exact number, to B&I. So in the first few years, pretty much all of his business, or most of his clients, came from B&I. Just a single source for all of those clients. Similarly, in the early days of Discover Strength, Luke acquired tons and tons of customers through B&I, and today he has managers at various locations join B&I to acquire customers. So they still do that because it's a proven tactic. So moving on, I thought I would just get into some of the training protocol highlights and things that we've been doing. So we've been utilizing all sorts of different cadences. We've been using typically nothing faster than a 3-second cadence. So our default cadence at the moment is a 3-4, so 3 seconds up, 4 seconds down. But we are utilizing all sorts of different numbers, 10-10. I do a sit-up where someone does a 3-6-3, so 3 seconds up, 6-second hold, 3 seconds down. So we're open-minded about that because, again, we know that all of these deliver great results, and it comes down to really training to muscular failure, and we want to provide sufficient variety in the stimulus. We've been utilizing static holds, negative only, assisted reps, breakdown sets. We've been utilizing all these different protocols to really get the most out of the machines that we have. I actually probably made the mistake in the beginning of going too advanced and trying to do lots of complex protocols to start with. And I actually found that very overwhelming. I noticed that the quality of the workout would break down a bit because I'd be trying to do too much. And so what I've actually ended up doing is really bringing everything back and simplifying things, and usually starting clients off on very basic protocols, default protocols to begin with, and then bringing other stuff in later. So that's something to take note of, is don't overwhelm yourself with trying to be super fancy in the beginning. Just keep it simple and then just evolve over time. Typically, clients are doing somewhere between 8 and 10 exercises every workout in 30 minutes. And one thing I've learned lately is you've got to be really on the ball to make sure you get a great workout in for someone in 30 minutes. You can't be having too much small talk. You've got to get on with the workout pretty quickly. You've got to be ready to move clients relatively swiftly between machines. You've got to be focused on getting the machine set up correctly quickly. You can't be spending too long on pre-coaching every exercise. And I don't think you need to either. I think you just need to really focus on the key things they need to think about during the exercise. Just a quick point on this. One of the things that really concerned me early on is a client said to me, are you in a rush today? And that was a real red flag for me because I thought, I do not want this client to feel rushed. Because even though the workout's brief, I don't want them to feel that way. So what you want them to feel like, in my opinion, is you want them to feel like you're valuing their time because they're so busy. And so you're trying to get in as much volume and a productive workout as possible, assuming that's your workout philosophy, it is ours, in the 30-minute session so that they can get the most bang for their buck. They can get the most return on their time investment. And so when I'm moving clients swiftly between exercises, and I don't mean rush factor, but I do mean probably no more than a minute between exercises. I am sort of reinforcing that so they understand I'm not trying to just rush them through the door in that sense. We do A/B routines. And so even if someone's on, it doesn't matter if they're on once a week or twice a week or 6 times a month, they'll always have an A/B routine, so there's some variety, but they're always full body, as we believe that it's important to have a full body stimulus when you leave the studio. And we, slight caveat on that actually, there are some clients who don't, but I think going forward, all new workouts will be full body. I think that's probably the best thing to do, as I think in the beginning we were sort of experimenting with different protocols. And I think that's probably just important in terms of client experience and producing best results. And what we do is every 8 sessions, so every 8 rotations of that A and B routine, we'll then change the program. And just to get back to focus, I mentioned earlier about being really focused on specific marketing tactics, so not having too much to do. As you know, me and my business partner, we have other projects. I have a young family. My time is limited as it is. I'm training all the clients until we grow the team. And so we have to be really focused in what we do and focus on the activities that make the most sense. And so again, I just want to highlight that because I just think it's so important to find marketing tactics that are really going to produce a great return for you, and just focus on those and perhaps think about consolidating the tactics that you're using. Because for us, it's literally B&I and then just making sure we deliver incredible workouts and educate clients. So one of my big focuses is on just making sure we're constantly educating the clients on the value of their training and why they should keep training with us for life. And by doing that, obviously, I'm going to yield greater client retention and ultimately drive more referrals into the business. So I feel confident that if we just focus all our efforts on B&I and client retention, we're probably going to grow the business great just using those tactics. And then also have the time to make sure we're focused on the operational aspects as well. And then we're just really focused on our rocks, which are just our key objectives to help us reach our revenue goals for this quarter and then be on track for our 1-year plan. So that's focused on a minimum number of free workouts, a number of clients you want to acquire, getting the website ready. The website looks amazing, but it's not live yet. And there's a few steps that we need to go through to get that done. Getting our hiring process finished, and then making sure that our workout process is complete as well. And we're almost there on that, since we need to have our workout process defined so that when we bring on our team, that they know exactly how we want workouts delivered. So it's important that we get those rocks achieved this quarter so that we're in a great position so that when we do start bringing on our team, we have the processes in place, we can really hit the ground running. So as I start to wrap up this podcast, I just want to touch on a couple more things. Firstly, I want to talk about the power of deadlines and the consequences of not achieving a deadline. So I talked about our rocks, one of which is to set up a hiring process. The reason that's so early on in the process is because we're looking to hire trainers as quickly as possible, because my schedule for training clients is somewhat limited and already filling up fast. And so in order to have more availability, we need to start hiring people fast. And so we found a candidate for interview and we set that interview. And then I realized we didn't have a hiring process. And I think it's really important to have a very clear understanding of the type of individual you want in your business. Are they a core value fit? Do they get it? Do they get what you're trying to do? Do they want it? Do they have passion for it? Do they have the capacity to do it? Some of you EOS people out there will recognize that as GWC. So we had to work on that, and we had to define what that is for us. And then we also had to create a hiring process, which is interview steps and other challenges which we wanted to put in place to make sure that we qualify candidates effectively, but also make sure that they are attracted to our business as well, and that we're setting them on the opportunity as much as we are also qualifying them. And what's been amazingly useful is that Luke Carlson from Discover Strength, some time ago now, actually shared the Discover Strength entire hiring process and how they recruit trainers inside HIT Business membership. So I have been heavily reliant on that. Thank you very much, Luke, in terms of creating that for Optima Strength. And going back to the deadline, the point I'm trying to make here is that when you know you have that interview, you know you have to be ready, right? Because I don't want to waste that opportunity. I don't want to come across unprepared or disorganized or not understanding exactly what we're looking for. And equally, I want to make sure that I obviously qualify him or her as productively as possible. So it just kind of got me thinking that if you actually set real deadlines and consequences for not getting certain things done in your business, that can actually be quite a powerful motivator. You have to be mindful, obviously, that you don't want it to backfire and just stress you out. So you have to just be careful, things like that. But that's been enormously beneficial. And obviously, I'm very excited about us moving forward with learning more about this particular candidate, but also attracting more people to the business as well. If you want to get a video tour of the studio, the video is a little bit old. I say a little bit old. It's not quite a year old, but it pretty much looks the same at this stage. So if you go to the blog post for this on episode 329 on highintensitybusiness.com, then you can see a video of the studio. And if you have any clients who are moving to Galway in Ireland, and you want them to have an awesome high-intensity training, personal training experience, then please do get in touch with me. And you can just contact us through the website, highintensitybusiness.com. But also, if you've got clients moving to Europe, so it doesn't just mean Ireland, it could be in the UK, it could be any country in Europe as long as the time zone works. Then we obviously offer virtual training as well. So if you've got clients moving over here who want to train, but you're unable to serve them, then we'd obviously be very happy to help them as well. It's probably also useful to say that if you do have any referrals and you want to contact me directly, the best way is probably Lawrence at highintensitybusiness.com. So as I start to wrap up this podcast, I just want to mention one last thing that's been enormous for helping us grow Optima Strength to this stage so far, and that's been utilizing HIT Business membership. HIT Business membership is a program inside highintensitybusiness.com where we provide how-to guides from successful strength training entrepreneurs to help you grow your strength training studio business with confidence. So I've collaborated with the top people in the industry, people like Discover Strength's Luke Carlson and Hannah Johnson and David Geschneider, Smart Strengths, Skylar Tanner, Live Oak Strengths, Owen Dockham, Max Strength Fitness, Jeff Tomaszewski. So we've really collaborated with the best in the industry to identify the tools, the tactics, the systems, the blueprints to help you grow your business. So whether you need help with recruiting trainers or acquiring and generating more leads, converting more sales, building systems in your business, it's all there inside HIT Business membership. And secondly, we also have a forum community where you can speak inside the forum and share ideas and get support. But we also connect every month in a virtual happy hour, which I always look forward to. The highlight of my month every month. Inside HIT Business membership, we jump on Zoom for the virtual happy hour, and it's a great time. And lastly, there's also private coaching from me. So if you want a direct link with me and you want feedback on your ideas or coaching for your business, then I provide it there as well. So if you're interested in that, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/join for all the details. And you will see exactly how to sign up there for that. So to find the blog post for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search for episode 329. And until next time, as always, thank you very much for listening.